Right. Marquez Davis says Mike Coop 7.1 Pitchfork for KD3. I really don't understand what they be listening to. All right, let's go into it then. We were gonna save that conversation for later, but shit, we can get into that.
Well,
King's Disease 3 gets a 7.1 in Pitchfork, and if you're wondering who this guy is, right beside, excuse me, right beside the rating, it's the writer Paul Thompson. Now, let me get a drink of water real quick. All right.
actually,
It would be it's interesting to know though.
he,
Paul Thompson also reviewed It's Almost Dry, Pusha T. He gave that a 7.8 while giving King's Disease 3 a 7.1. Now, for the people who actually read the review, what did y'all think about some of the things that he said in the review? What did you think about some of the things that he said in the review?
I I do not think that he said a whole lot.
I'm
Like he
actually
said
going
a
to go
lot.
to
Like
some of it, if you don't mind.
he said a lot, like word count wise and like verbiage wise, but he really didn't say anything. And once again, it has that problematic feel to it, as if it was not listened to all the way through
Yeah,
or
because I
multiple.
didn't really see too much of a breakdown of actual songs. It was
Like
more of a build up of, it was like you said, it was a word salad of sorts. But yeah, not a lot of substance.
I mean, and not to be funny or to put ourselves up high, but literally the day after the album came out, Mike, I had bars written down from every song to break down.
You did. You did.
Like,
I
and it
don't think he
wasn't
went through the
hard,
trouble of doing any of that.
but that wasn't hard to do, Mike. That didn't take me like a week. That took me like one listen of the album and then going back and like replaying stuff and being like, oh, he did say that.
The one
Like,
song that I see right here, just scanning it, right?
it's
He
all
he
work.
he mentioned Rewind. He mentioned Nasty from 2022's Life is Good, and then he also said on WTF SMH. He makes nearly every point about Big Daddy Kane's influence and how profitable his publishing has been. I'm sorry, and how yeah, that's what he said, and how profitable his publishing has been for Search about cowards who cut tough guy shit. Land with the percussion single syllable burst. That's
What?
pretty much the only
What?
mention. Yeah, and
And
then he
what?
goes on to say the enemy is always the case with Hit Boy and often with Nas is the middle. KD3 most effective songs on their pull towards opposite poles. Thun recalls the mournful song produced by DJ Premier, a la That Image in the mid 1990s, New York City to be riffed with well dressed mobster and poorly maintained project stairways, while Once a Man, Twice a Child is a land god and luxuriative counterpoint. When Nas describes himself on the lush Marcus Miller sample Hood to Hood as a mixture of Paisley Park Prince with the Supreme Team Prince, he finally landed on the elevator pitch that resolves his most seemingly irresolvable contradictions.
What was that?
What does that even mean? I'm
What?
sorry.
No,
Am I
hold
slow?
on,
I must be slow.
hold
I'm
on,
fine.
hold on.
Yeah.
I,
You want me to read that again?
no, I please don't.
No, no, no. I'm gonna read it again for the people.
No, no,
It
no,
said
please don't.
when
No.
Nas described himself on the lush Marcus Miller sample Hood to Hood as a mixture of the Paisley Park Prince with the Supreme Team Prince, he finally landed on his elusive elevator pitch that resolves his most seemingly irresolvable contradictions.
What? What is that? No,
I need my Kofi, man.
oh,
I need my Kofi.
no, no.
This
Let
is
me ask you.
Oswald Bates talk.
Ask,
This
let me
is
ask you something. Can we
Oswald
just be
Bates
honest?
talk.
Just no. But can we just be honest with each other? Like, what did that really mean? Like, let's not be
Does
funny.
anybody in the chat know what that knows what that means? I
Let's
know we
try.
got some
Let's
smart
try.
people in
Let's
here.
no. Let's try to intellectually unpack
Okay.
what he is trying to express. Because I think that you're intelligent. And I think that I'm intelligent. I'm intelligent. I find our audience to be intelligent at times, though rather mobbish, rather mobbish, but intelligent. And Nobody really knows what the hell that's saying. And this is what I mean. And also, too, can I point out something real
He's
quick before?
calling Nas a contradiction from what I'm gathering from this.
Well,
And
here's the thing. It appears to be. It's almost like misquoting the bars because the way that he's placing the quotes in here and connecting them. Well, that's not how the rhymes go. And so the connective tissue that he's trying to quote unquote stitch together, like Nas is talking about how he stitches words together. You know, like the stitch just isn't connecting, and so let's try to make it connect, like seriously, because it's like I don't understand.
36 Chambers says word salad review that doesn't say anything. Shaking my head. All right, this is what I guess I'm gathering from what he's trying to say.
Okay.
Paisley Park Prince with the Supreme Team Prince. Obviously, Nas is talking about him being able to be everything and adapting to every situation. And the writer, I guess, feels like this is the first time that Nas has made a correlation in that light, which I don't feel like that is. But again, to call this is the thing, and again, and I don't want to disrespect anybody out here, period. But this is the reality of it. This is hip hop, and we're gonna get to this part in a second. But in Black culture and Black American culture specifically, we do have to exist in two different worlds. And we do have to be able to be Supreme Team Prince and Paisley Park Prince at the same time. So I don't understand how this is an enlightening bar that he feels like Nas has finally landed it on about who he is and what he has become or what he is and how he operates in this world. This is what we have to do. And again, that's why it's important to have people who either understand culturally what hip hop is, understand where these perspectives are coming from, or people who are actually of the culture who are going to review these things.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, it's very well said. I think, and I'm not. What's the writer's name, Mike?
The writer's name, I know it's Thompson. It's Paul Thompson. Paul A. Thompson.
Okay, so see, this is what I mean. So Paul A. Thompson is writing from a perspective and trying to put together colloquialisms that he's not really privy to. And right. So what you're speaking to is very much like one of the few idols I have, W.E.B. Du Bois speaks to, which is the veil of being Black in America. And so the juxtaposition that Paul is missing is often that veil of us having to be two separate entities who are totally different from one another in their face in order to succeed in this systemically racist and unjust caste system, essentially, that is going on financially, economically, sociologically, environmentally, like you name it. And so the fact that Paul doesn't get that,
he calls it an elevator pitch of a sort. And I hope I'm not taking him out of context, but...
Well, it's just like, this is what I mean. It's just like, well, it's not just being like out of touch with like Black music. You're not in touch with Black culture. Because right. If you don't understand the rationale for those juxtapositions, well, that means you don't understand really what's going on under here. You don't understand that veil that W.E.B. Du Bois was writing about in 1900, while it is 2022. And so what you maybe need to do before you start writing these articles is maybe you're not even literate on Nas or Black music or hip hop music. Become literate on what it means to be Black in America first. Like start like all the way at the bottom fundamentally with it. Because that's really why the writing is off, is because we live in a fundamentally broken and unjust society. And what they're going to do, Mike, like you just uncovered, and this is very valuable research on your part. Well, I mean, this guy's been writing for them for 14 years. So they sent their best guy. And it's like, well, this is the best you got. The only thing that I have to tell you is that you're really just showing how truly out of touch you are, not only with hip hop music, but with just Black culture in America and in general. And you need to check yourself. Get well read on some things. I suggest the autobiography of Malcolm X and the Souls of Black Folks by W.E.B. Du Bois, which describes this very veil that artists like Tupac and Nas and Stevie Wonder and Bob Marley and Prince have been unpacking from the moment that they touched the mic.
Yeah. What I was gonna say to piggyback on that is one of the things that you took away from KD3 as soon as we listened to it. Actually, I think it was the following day where you were like, "This is a Black empowerment and unity album,"
It is.
and it clearly is. And none of the reviews were able to actually either highlight that or acknowledge that.
They
So I
refuse.
think that culturally, the people that are reviewing this album specifically, and that have been reviewing Nas for years, just fundamentally don't understand what this man is talking about, where he's coming from, where the artist like they're hearing what we're hearing, but not comprehending what a Nas listener or somebody who really understands where Nas is coming from
Right.
is saying. Either that or they, refuse to acknowledge it. Either way, you can't review any piece of work properly if you don't have those bases. I mean, it's like when you're in school and you have courses that you have to take before you get to that certain level. They're having people take these courses, write these articles who haven't taken the prerequisites. You're not qualified, honestly, Paul Thompson, to even write a Nas review. I'm sorry. If this is the stuff that you're
Not as a writer.
unpacking,
Not
you're
as a
not
writer.
qualified.
Not as a writer. We're not saying that you're not qualified as a writer.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Culturally, you're not qualified.
Right.
You know. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, legit used the 5 Heartbeat sample for a reason. Because in the scene, the show was rigged against them, and they still won. Like how Nas used it. Yeah. And you know what? It's funny. Culturally, once again, no one's bringing up this 5 Heartbeat sample in these reviews. Excuse me.
I have.
Yeah, I know you have, but I'm saying like everybody who talks about this, like from the Joe Budden podcast, people of the culture, they're like, "Yo, this sample was crazy. It was right in our face the whole time, and somebody finally used it and flipped it." Pitchfork's not even talking about this 5 Heartbeat sample. It's a cultural difference. Yeah, go ahead, my bad.
I'm sorry. They probably don't even know who Robert Townsend is like that. You feel what I'm saying? And if they do, he's that guy that like helped Eddie Murphy like back in the '80s when they were kids. You get what I'm saying? It's like
the Parenthood.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
It's just so lost and convoluted. Like the separation. Like you see the separation in the lack of connecting to the artist. Like we're expected to connect to the white artist, but they're not doing a good job of connecting to our side. So it's like when you're looking at a Metacritic per se, and they're like talking about like, oh, this is, the highest album for a rap album. It's like, well, why aren't there more rap albums like rated like this, quite frankly, anyway? And why is Pitchfork culturally still getting it wrong? And the only thing I really have to submit is because it's like, no, things truly are broken here. I don't think people understand. Not just like this is another microcosm of what's wrong here. You get what I'm saying? It's
and
like
I
that.
feel like if I were a writer for Rolling Stone, or even let's just say hypothetically the Source magazine, and let's just say hypothetically the Source magazine was doing reviews on Bruce Springsteen, and I'm the person that's gonna write the review. If I write that review, I better be on my shit or I'm going to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it seems like those things aren't asked of the other side to know culturally what's going on over here before you pick up a pen and you're able to write this on this major publication. They wouldn't let me write a Bruce Springsteen review on Rolling Stone if I didn't prove to them that I knew my shit when it came to Bruce. You know what I'm saying?
So let's have this conversation about, once again, the work. Because, how about this? I'm going to use, well, Mike, let's use the
Yes,
Migos.
Bruce Springsteen is dope. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Born to Run.
Yeah. What were you about to say, Coop?
No, the Migos, like Mike, you and I have talked on this show about the group, multiple times, obviously, being from LA. And, you follow them with more fervor than I do. And so when it was time for me to do the Culture 2 review, Mike, as somebody who takes their job seriously, I literally went back and pulled up everything they had ever did and listened to. Anything I could find on YouTube, a guest appearance, a shout out, some interviews. Like it's part of the job. Like when you're writing and reviewing music, is to like get in tune with the artist so that you know how to measure and rate it. Like what are you like? What when you're giving it a 7.1, a 7.1 on what scale exactly, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really seem like he even has the basis to even be able to
Like
rate this
like
properly.
what's Paul's like this is one of those things. It's like you can find out a lot about like just like people sometimes like you know in their level. It's like well what are Paul's 25 greatest rap albums of all time and why?
It's
You
funny
know
you
what
mentioned that because I was just thinking about that classic clip where Joe Budden was visiting Hot 97 and they had this young man who, seemed like an intern for whatever reason. He was doing like an impromptu interview with Joe Budden, young white guy, whatnot. And he was asking Joe Budden about All Eyes on Me. And Joe Budden was like, "Yo, I love that album, whatever, whatever." And then he asked Joe, like, "What's your favorite song on All Eyes on Me?" And Joe Budden was like, "Well, what's your favorite song on All Eyes on Me?" And the guy was like, "I don't really listen to rap like that." He's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Again, you shouldn't even be. I'm not saying that everybody's not allowed in this space, but it just seems like when it comes to hip hop, and let's just
No, it's
say black
okay.
culture in general, they let people in the door who have no concern, care, or love for the craft at all. Like
Not
the
quite.
door is wide open. It's like, nah, no, no, no. You're gonna have to know a little bit of something. And from what I'm reading in this review, Paul doesn't know too much about not just Nas, but just black culture altogether. Do you want me to read a little bit more of this?
I mean, you don't have to, but if you feel
Well, I mean,
compelled,
for the people,
yeah.
I want to see what they said about, because I want to get to the point where he's talking about the music and the songs.
Okay.
And so, okay, he says, fortunately, these are far rarer than, okay, hold on, let me go back up. Sound like it might have been a little sneak diss there. The paring down to Nas verses necessarily makes them feel less improvisatory. He has always been such an inact writer that little seemed to be discovered in his recitation of lyrics themselves. But density brings more opportunity for little bends and inflections and hitches in the rhyme. Let me make sure I'm not missing any super chats too while I'm doing this. All right, the drabblest moments of KD3 come when lapse into mechanical entrepreneurial speak. For those who claim 100 mil on their taxes, doiled out in the deliberate hand and no room for flourishes that might undercut or deepen its meaning. Fortunately, these are far rarer than the ones from the first two King Disease volumes, and they're balanced by more charming references as when Nas notes on Get Light, the grown ladies with Mercedes-Benz keys, who are friendly as little kids on the 10-speed. I didn't say a lot there.
It's not saying anything. That's what I mean. Is that this is one of those things, and I know this as a writer. You know this too, Mike. When you're not touched by something,
just writing,
you throw your words at it.
It's like when you when you're given an assignment in school and they tell you to just you got to write 1,000 words or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're just in there, just trying to get those 1,000 words out. That's what this sounds like, really.
Mm-hmm. No. You got to meet that quota. And it's like, do you do this? And this is what I would ask. It's like, it's funny. I asked you to bring up to see if he had done any Nas reviews or hip-hop reviews, but it makes me wonder. It's like, no. What pop and alternative reviews actually has he done? I think that's what we actually need to look at, because we need to see, like, what his scale is for why this got a 7.1. When even Metacritic, which is the overall rating, is giving it a 92. Now, if you're giving it a 7.1 out of 10, that means you're giving it essentially a 71 out of 100. Metacritic's giving a 92 out of 100, which means you are about 19 points off the mean. Now, Mike, when you're the only person that's 19 points off the mean, there
You
will
got to
be no
explain that.
there'll be no curve.
Yeah.
No curve for you when you're over here with the 71 and everybody else has a 92. No, that means you don't know what you're talking about.
It's Almost Dry gets a 7.8. And I think that it's a
That's
general
literally
consensus that this is a much better album than It's Almost Dry. And I
that's
love Pusha T. But,
no, that's cool too, Mike. But that's literally how business statistics works. You understand? That's how
right.
business statistics works. It's like if the average on the bell-shaped curve is 92 and you get a 71, it don't curve in your favor. You're sitting over there with a 71. Everybody else has a 92.
Right.
There will be no adjusting this curve for your stupid ass.
My thing is, out of 10, 7.1, an album that is being, heralded to such a high degree, I would expect the review to at least talk about why you gave it a 7.1. And it doesn't even do that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I say something too, and I think there's a deeper problem that I find, from like reading not just the Nas reviews, but just reviews in general. Hip hop reviews just aren't as good as they used to be because I'm gonna tell you exactly what's happened. It's become a bunch of words and the feeling's been lost, and this is about the feeling.
No soul. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah, it's a 4-letter word.
And this is the thing too. When we get so caught up in techniques and technical aspects of this shit, and I got love for these guys. You know what I'm saying? I know one of the founders, but I think even the Rap Genius thing, even though it's a good resource for a lot of people when it comes to lyrics, but I think that it takes away a lot of the soul and feeling of things because it's so analytical. And I know you and I get analytical here too, but I feel like we balance it out with real feeling and real soul. That's why I love when we do our station heads because people can actually hear and feel the music. And we actually talk about the music in a passionate way. It's not so mechanical. And I think a lot of this stuff has translated over to these reviews in ways where, I hate to say it like on some back in the day shit, but back in the day with The Source, it didn't feel that way. Those reviews weren't super complicated. Like you go back and read the Illmatic review, go back and read the Kumina review, Life After Death, read the Infamous or whatever. That shit wasn't mechanical. They was telling you this shit is jamming.
Right, because what it'd be like, they'd be like, hey, guess what? These niggas can rap. These are the songs you should listen to.
Exactly. And this is why. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, all small hip-hop publications are giving KD3 a glowing review. The culture understands the quality of album and sees the message that Nas is conveying. Definitely. The people see it. We were sitting there on the station head that night, 400 people in there, and everybody was feeling the same thing. And you know how the internet is. People ain't going to hold back. If that shit was submitted, it would have been people in the chat saying it's submitted.
Internet is not
and the one song that we played, I'm trying to remember, I think it was WTF SMH, because we had a delay and some people kind of left and went and listened to it on their own and came back or whatever. But somebody had said that was a song they weren't feeling. And then when the song played, people were like, yo, you crazy. This shit's hard. And he even rethought some of the stuff that he was thinking. So, again, in a group like that with that many people, yeah, man, if it was submitted, people would have said it.
Let's unpack a couple things. Let's unpack the portion of it about it being an empowerment album.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, and that's probably my biggest problem with how this is being discussed. Is like, okay, when people are discussing beef and they're critiquing it, they're not discussing the perspective properly. They're too busy trying to compare it to "I Gave You Power" and Rewind instead of discussing the perspective. Okay?
It's hard to do, It's hard to pull a song out and take the song as it is without putting a person's legacy on top. But that's what you have to do because that's fair. Treat it like Fabulous made it. I am not saying that to be shady, but you know what I mean.
No, I'm not saying no. He should be compared against himself, but only in this regard. He's having a whole new career. This run with Hit Boy is a whole new career.
You're right.
The empowerment message and theme has always remained the same. And so this is what I mean about lack of perspective by the writers. It's like, well, Maybe you ain't hustled nothing before, so you don't understand the shit all the way like you should. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe you haven't been following his career and Mobb Deep's career and Capone Noriega and Tragedy Gaddafi. Like maybe you haven't been following these guys. So when you're hearing a record like Fun, it's not resonating with you as a hip hop head. Well, because you're not familiar. You ain't heard Fun and Kiko before. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you heard the Cormega and Prodigy joint where they actually like really like sneak dissing Nas on there.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you're not familiar. Like, you know what Prodigy say on Quiet Storm? He's a dick blower trying to speak the done language.
Yeah.
What the drilly with that? Yo, it ain't banging. Like that's what this is. Like this is it. Like this is that. And so like that's what I mean about it not connecting.
Like
it's
Jay said, was like you ain't do it, so you don't get it. When the message I'm spitting is so foreign to you, like you don't understand nothing I'm saying.
And so I want to say something else too, and this is what I mean about how he's having a whole new career. Like people joke with me now, it's like when I play Death Row East or I talk about Death Row East, but I'm going to tell you why I love Death Row East again. It's the version of him now. That's what I'm saying. Like when you hear Death Row East, you know Death Row East is a story. You don't hear people comparing Death Row East to I Gave You Power Over Wine. It's because that's a new version of him. And it's like, no, embrace the new version of him. So when I hear WTF SMH and he says shit like, my jewelry is disgusting, but let's discuss the taste. I'm in another place. This whole shit is in shambles. Low vibrational levels. Riders never get canceled. If Jay said that, this shit would be quoted all over the internet, literally, even right now today. We would be tired of hearing it.
You're right.
Listen how nasty that shit is. Yeah. My jewelry is disgusting, but let's discuss the taste. I'm in another place. This whole shit is in shambles. Low vibrational levels. Riders never get canceled. Now tell me that if Jay says that everybody's not running around saying that and quoting that.
Jay quotes is like the new Will Smith quote.
Very problematic.
No, you're right.
And so the fact that these things aren't being unpacked by the writers let me know that they're either not listening, don't care, not connected to the culture, all above, all
or
the
agents.
above.
Or agents.
But you know, all of that. But Mike, you want to know when the soil is most fertile on Earth? You know, like the most fertile soil, right?
What's that?
After you burn it or after a volcano pours hot lava over it, that's the most fertile soil on Earth, actually, is when you burn something. You got to burn it. Remember Slash and Burn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to burn the whole shit down and burn the soil and burn it down to the root and start over fresh. Like some of the best soil is actually after volcanoes have come over. The ash and the sediment that's left is so fruitful, all the nutrients that come from that naturalness, like in the earth. So sometimes like you have to burn shit down.
Let me get to the super chats real quick.
A problem, like in terms of just like the hip hop reviews that I'm seeing. It's not like a Nas thing. It's like, no, it's like maybe like you need to just burn this whole stage of like writers down.
Yeah, destroy and rebuild is where we're at.
We can get some more fertile soil and get some better writers coming up out the ground.
I think that's what's happening because a lot of people were saying that some of the smaller publications are getting it right and they're actually doing a better writing job with this project specifically. Marquez Davis with the super chat says KD3 is at an 88 now on Metacritic. That 7.1 dropped it 4 points. Is that the play?
Is that the play?
Agent
right.
shit. Marquez Davis with the super chat again says they did the same thing with Magic. Waited until the dust cleared and then they gave it a low score. Magic has a 78 score now.
Hold on, let me ask you something, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
What does it take to be like measured on Metacritic? Like we have over 1 million followers and we're on all digital platforms.
I don't know. I need to look into that just to make sure and see like, what the
perfect rating. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely.
I mean, like how many of these other publications have the following that we have? Because, like, you know, I know certain other people that are like probably not too happy with me because how I've spoken with them, even though I'm not taking back anything that I said. Have chosen to start doing like their podcast like at the same showtime as us. But you know what I mean? We check the numbers and it's like it's funny. You have a bigger following, but you didn't do bigger numbers than us. So it's like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, listen, man. People ain't really listening to them like that. You know what I mean? Like. I mean, I'm just being real, not trying to be funny or whatever, but